All right, so welcome everybody to Optimism Town Hall. Optimism Town Hall is a collaborative forum for discussions about the Superchain with a special focus on optimism governance and community coordination. We host weekly events that create an interactive space where everybody can learn about optimism's development, explore opportunities, and contribute to important conversations about the collective's future. These events happen every Thursday at 18 UTC. We have all sorts of educational topics about retrofunding missions, talks with talented builders, and so forth, as you can see on the optimismtownhall.com website. And we use a democratic topic selection system that we call agendas, also OP topics, to ensure discussions reflect community interests, where people can vote with topics with reputation tokens such as Optimism Fractal respect tokens, and OP and badge holders and people in the collective can get involved in different ways to fairly set agendas and fairly create a media together in a collaborative way where everybody has a voice. Check out Optimism Town Hall to learn more. Of course, we are building with the Optimism Superchain, which you can learn more about at optimism.io, and you can explore the website to see all the videos and so forth. Optimism.io, the Optimism Collective, is building a world that benefits all, owned by none, doing many great things together with the open source OP stack with various networks like Base and Fractal and Mode, OP Mainnet, Zora, Unichain, and so forth, building great apps on there like Farcaster and so many others too. So I encourage everybody to check it out if you're not yet familiar. Optimism is really leading the way in decentralized governance and creating a future internet on Ethereum that's more equitable and fair for all. Everyone's welcome to join the Optimism Town Hall at Lou.Masters Optimism Town Hall. We encourage you to join and invite your friends, and feel free to ask any questions. We have that democratic topic selection system, but everybody's welcome to just raise their hand and share thoughts along the way too. And register for other events hosted by Optimistics at Lou.Masters Optimistics. This includes the Optimism Fractal events, which happen an hour before Optimism Town Hall, and also the Eden Fractal events. You can check out the tools in this picture that the community is building for improving governance, and check out the Optimism Town Hall videos at optimismtownhall.com/videos, where you can see each of the seasons and all the different episodes. We're actually in our third season now, and those will be added soon, but you can also find the newest episodes on the Eden Careers YouTube channel too. So like, subscribe, share, all the good stuff. Also check out the governance forum, gov.optimism.io, the Optimism Town Hall Season 3 thread, where you can see updates with the topics. Here we have an approved topic proposal, place where you can now vote on a variety of topics, the snapshot space where you can propose more topics, an article with topic details, an article about 2025 planning. During last week's event, we discussed 2025 planning for the Optimism Fractal community and the Optimism Town Hall. So that video is now released, and we encourage everyone to check it out for context on where Optimism Fractal and Optimism Town Hall are and where it's going in 2025, at least some ideas and discussions and so forth. So appreciate everyone's participation there. I also published an article about this as well on the Optimistics website, where you can learn more about these plans. One of the main kind of early proposals that isn't formal proposal, but a proposal that I started making is to change the cadence of Optimism Fractal and Optimism Town Hall events to a biweekly schedule. I am planning to propose that. If anybody has any follow-up feedback or thoughts about that, then would love to hear it during this town hall. But I'm planning to propose that in the next week, starting in 2025. And I laid out some benefits for that. And basically, this would make it so that Optimism Town Hall and Optimism Fractal alternates weeks with Eden Fractal events, which will also be at the Thursday at 17 UTC. And Eden Fractal events is focusing on the ideas that Eden Fractal events will be focusing on playing respect games on base to measure and ask the question to participants, what did you do to advance governance, coordination, or public goods over the past 2 weeks? So there'd be a bi-weekly alternation between specifically helping optimism and then more generally advancing governance, coordination, or public goods. Everyone can get involved with sharing their thoughts here or the Eden Fractal events to also help this evolution too, because it could be different based on community feedback. But that's the idea here. And we're also planning to do a 1 to 2 week winter break as well, where we'll definitely take off the 26th, and we might take off the 2nd, but not sure yet. So would appreciate any feedback there. And then 2025, we come back with this new schedule if that's what we decide to do as a community. And I'm planning to put up a proposal for the Optimism Fractal Council about that this week, so stay tuned there. And then, yeah, you can explore this article for more details about the technical evolution that the community has made over the past year and the new apps and more links and stuff where you can learn more. Also, a video with Eden Fractal that we've been discussing this and several strategic documents. Today's agenda, As I mentioned to Harvesto before, we play a game called Agendas each week that empowers community members to fairly propose, discuss, and vote on topics with reputation tokens. And the way this works is that whichever topic has the most votes at 17 UTC on Monday is the topic that gets discussed, whichever topic in the Optimism Town Hall snapshot space, I should say. So I propose this topic this week about continuing our optimistic journey, kind of just summarizing what we've discussed over the past few weeks since the beginning of the third season of Optimism Town Hall. We discussed ORDAO implementation, Optimism Fractal, retro funding impact recognition with the Optimistics team. And then last week we talked about plans for 2025. So that's where we're at right now. And the way that this topic proposal was basically building on this momentum because there's a whole bunch of discussion topics I've proposed over the past several weeks that we didn't get to discuss yet. And there's a topics poll where we're playing the OP topics game where you can vote in real time throughout the event, as well as to vote to switch topics with the event by saying next topic if you want to discuss something different. So you can find all the details in this page here, as well as there's an article, OP Topics, where you can learn more about exactly how that works. And yeah, basically, here's the topics that we'll discuss here in Let's Play OP Topics. I'll refresh it too to see if there's new votes. But where we're at right now, there are 7 topics. There's a new interface now from Snapshot that makes it a little bit difficult to see the topics too, because like it kind of cuts them off. So that's not ideal. But the topic with the most votes is Optimism Town Hall and Optimism Fractal 2025 planning. That's currently the topic with most votes still. I think I can open up the old interface if it'd be helpful to if I go to snapshot.org instead, but I think it's good enough though. The topic with the second most votes is Optimism Season 7. And that's also something we discussed in pretty sufficient or pretty deep detail. There's a whole lot more we can get into as well. But we also discussed quite a bit about the new plans with retro funding and missions and much more in 2025, the core intent of interoperability across the Superchain that was put out by the Optimism Foundation over the past few weeks. And then the topic with the third most votes is Optimism Fractal Respect Game mission proposal that was recently approved. And then more about a topic that Will had made about Hydra social media, Superchain growth, and much more that you can explore here. You can see who voted for it and how much each person voted for each topic as well. But feel free if anybody does want to change their votes still, then you can still do so. I see Abraham just voted for the Optimism Season 7 plans. Right now, the top one is still Optimism Town Hall and Optimism Fractal 2025 plans, but they kind of go together to a big extent, or at least obviously there's much more going on in Optimism Season 7 outside of Optimism Town Hall and Optimism Fractal, but we can discuss both at the same time as well, kind of like we did last week. And then, yeah, feel free to change change your votes throughout the event and let us know if there's a new topic that has more votes, of course, or we can also, there's just the 4 of us, we can have kind of a laid back discussion as well. I see Harvesto voted. Thanks for voting there. I'm glad you're able to figure it out. Although I don't see your vote yet, I just refreshed it. So I'm not sure. Maybe it's just not populating yet. Or maybe that was the other thing that you were talking about. My mistake there. So, yep. One last thing here is that there is this Seasons of Optimism topics for Optimism Town Hall Season 3 article, which has more details about each of these as well. So provides more details about the format of their discussion, and then provides an article about each of these topics where you can learn more about, retro funding round 6, Optimistics toolkit, all the different missions that were approved, all the different topics, basically, for anybody who wants to dive into this either now or throughout the week, then that's also linked in the snapshot space as well, in the snapshot poll. So with that, I suppose I'll stop my introductory presentation here. I can share more details or more thoughts about the Optimism. Oops, it looks like Optimism Season 7 plans has now had the most votes. So Rosmari just updated her vote and changed it. So now Optimism Season 7 plans is top voted, and Optimism Town Hall and Optimism Fractal 2025 plans is the one with the second most votes. So we'll discuss Optimism Season 7 plans first, I think. Does anybody have any thoughts you'd like to share? Any questions? Anything you're wondering? Any thoughts you'd like to share in general about what you think about Optimism Season 7? I can also provide a bit of context too. So if I go back to this article that has all the different topics here. So the topic Season 7, Optimism Season 7, it will run from January 16th to June 11th, 2024, with a theme of shared success focus on interoperability between the different networks in the superchain. And introduces a unified approach where all contributors, including the Token House and Citizens House, will work towards the same intents with a goal of achieving $250 million per month in cross-chain asset transfers. This governance structure in season 7 has also been streamlined with three types of missions coming from Foundation, the Optimism Foundation, Optimism Retrofunding, which goes with the Citizens Fund, or not the Citizens Fund, I'm sorry, Retrofunding, which is governed by the Citizens House, and the Governance Fund, which is governed by the Token House. And so all of these are bundled together basically in the concept of missions, and it's all working towards these measurable goals to achieve the core intent of increasing interoperability and making use of the new interoperability infrastructure that's being released on Optimism to unite the superchains into, or to unite the superchain networks into really one big network. And as we discussed, I don't know how much I want to go over it again or how much everybody wants to, because we did discuss this for probably about 15, 20 minutes in the last episode of Optimism Town Hall. But as a quick reminder and quick overview, this article provides an excellent starting point, or this forum post, Season 7, Guide to Season 7 on gov.optimism.io, where you can see an overview of what went on in Season 6, all the accomplishments and achievements, the prior seasons 1 through 6, and how they were oriented. There's links and articles where you can learn more about each of these, and the Season 7 theme. There used to be several core intents. Now there is one main core intent for this Season 7 for the next 6 months or so, starting in the beginning of the year, which is focused on the Superchain product vision of interoperability. There's a huge amount of links where you can learn more about each one of these things. And yeah, basically, the foundation is aiming to rally the community around this intent to have a set of interoperable stage one chains, which for anybody not familiar, that's like quite decentralized chains building on Ethereum, layer two chains, doing $250 per month in across that chain asset transfers. And there's all details about budgets and different councils and commissions and boards here and so forth. So encourage people to check out the article to learn more, as well as check out our video from the last week's event too, which I have in this Optimism Fractal and Town Hall 2025 planning article too, where you can go in and see our discussion here. And then there's some timestamps here where you can see where I went over more details about this, some blog posts and stuff like that as well. Does anybody have any thoughts? I know there's a lot of information here, so if anybody had any questions, I'm pretty familiar with it. I can help answer these questions. Or if anybody has any thoughts in general, it came out a few weeks ago, so maybe you've had the time to dive in more deeply to it. So you have thoughts about what do you think about the season 7 overall, or maybe how it ties into the other top voted topic about Optimism Fractal and Optimism Town Hall in 2025. The floor is open. I've spoken quite a bit, so thanks all for listening. But yeah, very curious to hear everybody's thoughts if you want to jump in and share any thoughts or questions or comments.
The first thing that came to my mind as far as interop, you guys may have talked about this already, so forgive me, but is the hats protocol integration. So if you get your hats on Optimism chain, can you then use those same hats on the base chain? Probably not at this point, right? We would have to do maybe some kind of a migration thing so that the NFTs are recognized in the other chain.
Yeah, so I believe that at the current moment, there is not that functionality
Yeah.
to have it fully interoperable, but that's coming very soon. So this article over here is one that was recently released on the Optimism Collective Mirror blog post platform. So they talked about building the future of Ethereum, the superchain, and native interoperability. I haven't had the chance to thoroughly read the entire thing yet. I read like the first couple sections, and like this is the main core intent that Optimism Collective is working towards, and there's a huge amount of engineering talent working to building. Um, these interoperability protocols. So there's, for example, the Superchain ERC20 tokens, which is, well, HATS protocol uses ERC1155. So I suppose we'd have
Right.
to see more details there about exactly how these might integrate. But there's a message passing protocol enabling secure cross-chain messages, allowing data and transactions to flow freely within the superchain, and also interoperability fault proofs as well to make sure that they're more secure. So I'd have to I suppose, do some extra research to figure out exactly what the timeline is and the roadmap is for ERC 1155 compatibility
Yeah.
with HATS protocol. But I'm pretty sure that's like a very, very high priority. And I imagine good chance that early in 2025 that will be available. And I imagine this message passing protocol aspect of it will allow at least messages from say OP mainnet to tell an application on base that they have, hats on OP mainnet or something like that. And I know like some of the engineers, like say Mark Tyneway and some others who are working on building this interoperability a lot, they talked about how they can imagine like apps being built across many of these different networks. Like you can have, say, an app operating across 10 different networks. So they're aiming for that. So that's sort of like very deep interoperability with like very deep composability between all these networks. So, and it's a very high priority for them. So I think it'll be coming out soon, if not already too. I
Wow.
also could be a bit outdated. I haven't heard the latest news. This is from a few weeks ago, so maybe it's even available now. But probably no.
Yeah, that sounds cool because in some ways it's like it's a pain for people to go and have to um get their get a second hat just to run it on a different chain, you know?
Yep. Yep, that's true. That's been I've been listening to a lot of podcasts about Ethereum in general, and that's like basically the biggest issue with Ethereum that people are identifying right now. That it's great that there's all these great L2 networks operating on Ethereum, building on Ethereum, but there's a lot of friction between people being able to use all the different networks. You have to bridge it between that and so forth. So it'll be
Yes.
a very big improvement. It's very exciting for the super chain having these all more interoperable.
Yeah, I mean, even just trying to buy tokens is like crazy sometimes. You're like, oh, well, I have Ethereum on Optimism, but I actually want Ethereum on Base. And wait a second, do I actually have the token? This is crazy.
Hmm. Yeah, it is a lot of work. I see Rosmari sharing Optimism post here. Yeah, maybe I'll pull this up on the screen share again. But thankfully, people from Optimism are like very talented engineers at OP Labs and also the base core development team and several others are working exactly to fix this problem. So yeah, this just came out from Optimism X account just a couple days ago about the Superchain ERC20, and they have a FAQ about it too. So that's
Yeah.
that, that's great to know. It's going to make the superchain much more of actual superchain because so far it's been superchain in theory a little bit, where they're all. I mean, it's not really in theory because all the superchains are working to help support retro funding and all the things like that. All the different networks in the superchain are working to help retro funding and helping in a variety of ways. But this will really link them together to be much more unified, which is really helpful.
Yeah, it seems like an ERC20 would be easier to port than an 1155 just because the uniqueness traits are different. Because if you try to make a unique token across multiple chains, which one's the real one? That's the you'd have to somehow log which one was first and what's who's the version of record and all that stuff. But I guess you have to do the same thing with an ERC20. That's an interesting and very difficult problem to solve. I think is like that history of if they're going to be synced. But yeah, I mean, I guess um, it's similar to what um, what's that other one called? Hmm,
I'm not sure what you're talking about there. You're talking about a different standard for connecting different chains and making it more interoperable, basically, or
I was thinking Chainlink. Yeah, yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Okay,
So
well,
essentially, they won't need Chainlink because Chainlink is really doing what they're proposing here, except they're sort of charging a fee to go between the different ones.
hmm. Yeah, there's also a lot of different kinds of services and different kind of protocols that are also working on interoperability. Like for example, I've been also following work of the Ethereum Foundation too. Like Justin Drake, one of the core researchers there, is proposing Beam chain, and people are proposing all sorts of interoperability standards with base rollups and stuff like that too. So it'll be interesting to see how all of this comes together. But for sure, this superchain interoperability standard with the superchain ERC20 um, is very, very promising. And then just across the entire Ethereum ecosystem too, this has been a huge initiative. I think 2024 was hopefully the last year of bridging and confusion between different networks, and hopefully Ethereum and Optimism really come together with all the different networks easily having, I don't know exactly how all the technology work behind the behind the curtain, so to speak. But I'm very
Yeah,
excited to see how it comes together.
that's really cool. Chainlink does some
Yep.
really interesting stuff where it'll like lock tokens on one chain and like make them inaccessible, but there's still a record of them, and then you get to use them on the other chain, so you can essentially transfer value from one to the other.
Yep, that's cool. Chainlink's been doing a lot of good stuff that I've heard about for years now, and
Hmm.
great to have more options for making it more interoperable. But at the same time, too, that even though Chainlink has existed, it hasn't been like I think it is not fully deeply integrated into a lot of the systems, and so there still is those bridging concerns. So
Yeah.
hopefully, and I think what will happen because this is being presented by Optimism Foundation, OP Labs, and different teams like Base who are working to scale Ethereum's technology and values. Hopefully, yeah, right at the top of their tweets, solving interoperability for the superchain and beyond. The goal is to build a unified superchain where users, assets, and developers move seamlessly across the network and beyond. So, um, I think that now will actually be the time to like not just have some tools that can make it helpful to move behind and make it more interoperable, but really make that the standard where like somebody who just comes for the first time, they never have to think about like all these different networks. Just make it really simple and really easy. And the fact that the
Yeah.
Optimism Foundation is proposing this as the core intent that I had showed before in that article on gov.optim.io means that I think that like they're really very motivated to just make that as effective as possible. There's also this video, by the way, too. I didn't mention that, but there's an article specifically about the season 7 intent that goes into much more detail about this specific intent and how it ties into the Superchain product vision, which is all about basically making these interoperable, or at least that's a very big part of it. It says Superchain starts as 15 to 50 chains that feel like one and scales to thousands. Um, and it's all protected by the governance of the Optimism Collective governance and having that governance layer to help coordinate basically this shared network of all these different superchain um, actors and protocols in the superchain. We're just putting up the heart.
Yeah, it seems like it's sort of yeah, the public goods was much more aligned with the stuff that we're doing here in this community. Um, is there alignment that you guys were talking about with this next season 7 round, or is it kind of that seems more like something that is going to be done by core developers and different kinds of tool makers and stuff like that?
So you're asking, is there alignment with, say, Optimism Fractal and Optimism Town Hall with the season 7 intent?
Yeah, it doesn't seem like there is any on the surface anyway.
Yeah, well, that's a good question. Something I've been thinking about, and part of the things that we discussed last week, and things that inspired the other article about 2025 plans for Optimism Fractal and Optimism Town Hall. So, I'm watching the video where Justine from the Optimism Foundation goes over the season 7 intent explainer right now, and she's showing the previous intents from Optimism season 6 actually, which show the three intents that there were before were progress towards decentralization, bring chains to the superchain, and grow application devs in the superchain. And so, just based on the intents, like just looking at the main title of it. Optimism Fractal was more clearly within those intents because Optimism Fractal is very clearly progressing towards decentralization with the novel, fractal governance processes, and also growing application devs on Superchain by providing a space for builders to come together and get awarded for their work and build a builder community, somewhat helping with building chains to Superchain broadly because we're helping to promote the Superchain and so forth. So Optimism Fractal was quite aligned with these, as well as Optimism Town Hall to helping to decentralize the superchain with our innovative voting systems and education about optimism and providing education for developers and different chains. Whereas, pulled up the wrong link there. Whereas in this season, because it's just focused on the optimism core intent now of having an interoperable stage 1 chains doing $250 million per month in cross-chain asset transfers. Right now, Optimism Fractal isn't directly working with asset transfers at all, really. And also, Optimism Fractal is just operating on the OP mainnet. So, just on the base high level, like Optimism Fractal, it's not as aligned with the intent as it was in season six. But at the same time, though, yeah, it's aligned in many other ways, I think. So, like for one thing, I think the Optimism Fractal will grow to help with funding. As you were saying before during the respect game, like the respect game can start as a way to allocate respect and soulbound reputation tokens and so forth. But over time, and also in the mission proposal that I recently got approved from the Optimism Grants Council, funding can be distributed as well to various builders. But that was one of the topics I have on the snapshot poll. That is one of the top topics about the Optimism Fractal Respect Games mission, which seeks to set up a fund distribution system so people will be rewarded with OP tokens by participating in Optimism Fractal events, also other Respect Game events hosted by other communities or organizations. So that's one way in which Optimism Fractal can get involved with the more so funding and monetary side that's more so in focus in this core intent. And there's also other ways too, where like say now that Optimism Fractal community has ORDAO, Optimism Fractal ORDAO community, the 65 builders who participate in the first four seasons who now effectively manage and own the Optimism Fractal Optimism account could also have different roles, like perhaps becoming a delegate or something like that, and voting to help allocate funding across the Superchain. So there's for sure ways that Optimism Fractal can tie into and help support the core intents. And in general, Optimism Fractal is still supporting this core intent by still helping to improve governance and attract builders and provide education and so forth for optimism, which provides helpful like dependencies for improving and for drawing people to the super chain in general, because maybe people who never heard about optimism hear about Optimism Fractal, they come to the events, they become more involved, and then maybe that winds up attracting some DeFi developers who deploy DeFi apps on Base and on Zora and on OP mainnet, and that works towards that intent. And in that way, Optimism Fractal is more so indirectly supporting this intent by supporting the builders who are working towards that $250 million per month in cross-chain asset transfers. So not as direct as in previous season, but for sure supporting it in a more indirect way and also able to support it in a more long-term way as well. And I suppose one more thing I'll add on that too is that um, as part of this strategy that we had discussed last week, so Eden Fractal is deploying on base, and now that the tools are quite ready between the Respect.Games app and the Fractogram app and the ORDAO tools that you're building, it's not totally ready, but I think it's like pretty close to being like it's ready for us to be using it, and it's pretty close to be able to be used at like a very large scale. Like like it's getting close to that kind of like production readiness to be deployed in many other chains and so forth. Already with the Respect.Games app, you can easily start up a Fractal or play Respect on base. So by doing that, that's something that we're aiming to go along with this. For some reason, this blog article, I messed up the link here, so I'm trying to pull it up, but I'll have to pull it up in a moment. Um, yeah, here it is. But and that's what this Optimism Fractal and Optimism Town Hall 2025 planning. I figure it makes sense strategically for Optimism Fractal and Optimism Town Hall to move to this biweekly structure so that we can just like basically like optimize our resource allocation, and like the Optimistics teams, for example, can allocate more resources towards Eden Fractal building on base and focusing on honing our products and the products and services that we're building, such as the Respect game and the utilization of the Respect token, and providing a place where we can foster collaboration between all the different networks on the superchain, where Optimism Fractal is operating on the OP mainnet, Eden Fractal operating on base, and then deploying the software all around different networks in the superchain. So that's another way that we're rallying around. Right now, it's non-monetary assets, but we can imagine in the upcoming quarter or first half of the year, there can be many different fractals operating or playing Respect game on many different superchain networks, which is also creating this kind of interoperability in a different way, not the $250 million in cross-chain assets, but in this way of creating an interoperability and composability and collaboration between builders on base and Zora and Mode and Unichain and World and OP mainnet and so forth. So that's one of the ways that I've been thinking about how in 2025, Optimism Fractal and Optimism Town Hall can support this intent by fostering that collaboration and these network experiences. And overall, I think that'll also help support that core intent as well a lot, because when you have people, collaborating and building on all these different networks, um, it's not just that they're building contracts that interact with each other and send assets between, say, OP mainnet and base, but you have builders from OP mainnet and from base and World and Unichain and Inc. and all these different chains coming together at Optimism Fractal, as well as other communities who deploy the respect game on the Superchain. So that's some of my thoughts there, and hopefully that provides some clarity for you there, Abraham. I'd be curious to hear your thoughts about it as well, if you have any follow-ups.
Yeah, it seems like you've got, in this case, maybe a little bit of a chicken and egg issue where you're trying to get people to come in and, pitch their contributions to this season 7. And, the main reason they would be pitching is, to socialize their product, and they would ultimately want to show their product to delegates. So if we could figure out a way to incentivize delegates to come, that might be an awesome catalyst to getting more people to come. I don't if, Maybe you've already thought about that and probably have. Um, but that seems like that would be the virtuous cycle of like trying to get, okay, well, we want more people to come on and share what they're doing and, get respect, and somehow, they are incentivized by getting respect, possibly by getting a token. But if there were delegates listening in, like that'd be a big deal. I know the delegates are super busy and they probably don't have a lot of time, but if we found some, newer delegates, if we could somehow get a list of, you know, people who are maybe up and coming delegates, and then we could pitch that to some of there's a bunch of companies I noticed when I was doing the invited voter thing for season 6, where there's a bunch of different like companies that basically do a lot of the optimism development. There's probably like 4 companies, um maybe a few more than that, but there's some small shops, like 2 or 3 guys, but then there's like I'd have to like go back and look at some of the information in pairwise to remember what the names of those companies are. But to be able to target the delegates and then also target those companies in pairwise, you could probably start to, kind of get them say, oh, well, we got this and we got this, and then you can kind of like draw people in too.
Yep. Yeah, it's a great point. There have been several delegates who have joined and given a lot of great feedback. I mean, I know you're a delegate, Abraham, and several other delegates with pretty considerable votes have joined several times to Optimism Fractal. And we
Yeah.
have that curated on optimismfractal.com/feedback. And that's definitely one of our goals going forward, to collaborate more closely with various leaders and various stakeholders in the Optimum Collective. So right now, most of our participants are builders who are building things on Optimism. I'd say is probably like the main kind of stakeholder, people who are building cool apps and so forth. And that's amazing. That's wonderful. But it's good to have a wider variety of like key stakeholders and leaders as well, who can support those builders and learn from those builders. And yeah,
Yeah.
so yeah, one of the ideas, I mean, both delegates and also badge holders as well from the Citizens
Yeah.
House play a very important role, and also different council members like the Developer Advisory Board and Grants Council and so forth. All of these kinds of stakeholders would be excellent to make more efforts to outreach towards them. And that's one of the things too that we've wanted to do for a while, and we've done somewhat here and there. Like for example, we hosted the Retro Pitches events over the autumn break, and there was a whole bunch of delegates and badge holders who had joined those. And one of the reasons why was because, well, for one thing, we were hosting an event that was like very much aligned with it was very much aligned with retro funding. And there's like a very clear connection with that. So
Hmm.
making a clear connection between the respect game and retro funding, and as well as grants council and stuff like that, is something that we're aiming to do, because respect game can really support all these initiatives, but a lot of people don't yet understand how it does so. So generally improving our educational efforts and helping people in Optimism Collective understand how the respect game can benefit these processes will be key. And that's something we've been working towards for over a year now. And our educational resources and our tools are much better. Also, having the right tools and easy to use software to support it is a big aspect of that as well. And then another aspect is reaching out specifically to like delegates and badge holders and so forth and building those relationships. That's something we did during the retro pitches as well. So Rosmari sent a message to all the different projects in retro funding round six, and we end up having something like 25 or so of the projects, which is over 25% of all the projects who participated, and a lot of them are also delegates and badge holders and so forth. So we figure that um, by switching the events to a biweekly schedule, that'll give us more time to do that kind of private reaching
Mm.
out, as well as the educational resources as well, um, while also having more time to focus on basically awarding those contributions to like our core products like Respect Game and so forth at Eden Fractal as well. So those are some of the ideas that we're thinking about. And then in parallel too, I am also looking at because it's always good to be, more independent and not be, too dependent on any single ecosystem. Um, and Optimism is working to grow the values and technology of Ethereum too. I think it would now that software is ready, it's also good to like look at the wider Ethereum ecosystem as well as ways to help grow these fractal consensus processes and respecting and so forth across both all networks and Superchain, and then all the other networks building on the Ethereum virtual machine too.
The tool I'm thinking of is called GovScore.
Yep.
Are you familiar with it?
Yeah, GovScore.
Or
I
there's a couple of them.
there's several. Yeah, I'm trying to remember which one that is.
But it's a platform for discovering quality underrepresented optimism delegates.
Hmm.
So that might be a cool place to look to try and get delegate participation. There's a couple other ones that they let me see if I can find it quick.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean opdelegate.com is another one.
Yep. It looks like GovScore is down. It used to be GovScore XYZ, but I don't see it. OPDelegate.com, I believe, is created by Michael, or he created a proposal for that. OP Michael.
Oh, okay, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a way we can search for those guys and just try to find, obviously the delegates that are doing all the voting, they're probably a lot of their time is just taken up, but to find somebody, no, not delegate match. But anyway, that just a couple of thoughts if you hadn't already thought of that stuff.
Yeah. Thanks for the thoughts and feedback there, Abraham. And yeah, I suppose one more thing I could add that to him, I mentioned it previously, but now that Optimism Fractal has ORDAO and ORDAO is out there, Optimism Fractal itself could become a delegate too. And that would be very cool for Optimism Fractal to get a lot of stake in the ecosystem as well in terms of Optimism Fractal community members being able to use this truly democratic and meritocratic process that we have to allocate respect according to who's contributing the most to optimism. Um, that's something that, I mean, so the Optimism Collective started up, or the Optimism Foundation made an article 6 months ago or a year ago, something like that, to start up the ACC, the Anti-Capture Commission, which
Hmm.
they did to provide like basically more decentralization, basically, where basically the idea is that I believe like 17 or 20 of the top delegates in Optimism all were able to join the Anti-Capture Commission, which was given approximately 10 million OP to vote on proposals and to generally try to prevent capture in the Optimism Collective. And the idea there is novel, and I think it's worked out pretty well overall. But ORDAO really has a much better mechanism of doing that than something like they just have one person, one vote, and it already is people who have a lot of voting power with those top 20 delegates. Whereas something like ORDAO, we have 65 people who participated at Optimism Fractal meetings over the first 4 months, and that's distributed and that's distributed not plutocratically, but meritocratically, not just who has earned the most tokens and voted and received the most votes, but from people who have consistently joined events and consistently helped Optimism and been rated by their peers, over 65 people, to distribute that respect token allocation. So that's something that I think that as more people in the Optimism Collective understand this, they're going to realize that this is a truly decentralized way to resist capture and to give power, voting power, to people who don't currently have much voting power, but who have been contributing, who have been building on optimism and who are building good things, really good things. So that's something that I'd like to see as well. We haven't yet taken any action on that, but I think at some point I'm thinking about um, making a proposal to the Optimism Fractal Council to um, uh, I suppose announce, or I don't know what the proper what the proper word is, but basically have Optimism Fractal become a delegate and then accept staking so that people, so the Optimism Fractal community can vote on proposals. And then I would plan to go to like the token house call, joint house call, and so forth, and announce that and introduce the software as well as this instantiation of it. And I think that will also raise more interest from the Optimism Collective because they'll understand more details. But I think the main issue right now is that people in Optimism Collective, like a lot of leadership, just doesn't understand the innovations yet at Optimism Fractal. That's what I experienced a lot from retro funding. But I mean, some do and some really love it. And we have amazing feedback from like several like top badge holders and council members and delegates. But as you said, a lot of them are busy and they haven't had time to look into it. So the more we can increase that education and do this like private outreach, I think that more people will be really excited to work with Optimism Fractal and realize how much Optimism Fractal can help achieve this core intent. And then one more thing I'll add too is that this is only for the 6 months, this season 7. So there's going to be other intents and other initiatives going forward thereafter. So it's a long-term game to build a super chain.
That's an interesting idea. And, obviously I have OP tokens. I think probably all of us have OP tokens of some kind, that we could probably delegate them all to one Optimism Fractal delegate. And then we could actually have a lot of voting power. That could be really cool. It's a great idea.
Yep, I agree. I'm looking forward to it.
All right.
Curious.
Well,
Oh, is there
I
something
should
you're gonna
probably
add there?
bounce.
Okay.
I gotta get back to work, but yeah, I feel inspired, and we're playing a long game.
That's right. Well, yeah, thanks, and thanks, Abraham, for all the great discussions. Much appreciated, and looking forward to playing the long game with you. And hope you enjoy your day at work. We should probably wrap up pretty soon too, so we want to wrap up at latest by 10 minutes from now. If you got to drop right now, Abraham, then feel free. And I wish you a great day. And I was also going to ask Rosmari or Hernesto if there's anything else you want to add. I appreciate you listening. Curious to hear if you have any thoughts you want to share as we start to conclude here. Any questions or anything?
Um, it would be good to maybe discuss more broadly, like kind of like a strategy for reaching out to delegates. Maybe like just think more about it, like how, to who, when, what are we going um up to them with as a proposal or something that would be interesting for them. And also kind of the connection between having delegates in these events versus just builders. Like what would be the main benefit from that? Yeah, maybe have like a strategy on people who would like to attend these events and have like basically reevaluate our target market in a way would be a good thing to discuss more.
Yep, good points. Well, I know we've done a lot of thinking about that. Just kind of between us, Rosemarie, and off the recording at various times. So maybe we could dive into that in one of our conversations, or we could also schedule it for an upcoming town hall as well. But yeah, I agree. I think that, I mean, for sure, attracting builders is something that's great to do, and we should continue doing that and ramping up. And I think that this time that this new schedule change, we've been kind of like pushing ourselves to do like a very large amount of events, and we've been talking how less events will allow us more time to do those kind of things, like strategize and like reach out to different stakeholders in the ecosystem, and having both many governance leaders and many builders for Optimism Fractal, I believe will be most helpful for Optimism Fractal. And yeah, we also got to, there's only 5 people who joined today, 6 people, 5 people. So in 2025, we need to scale it up. And for Optimism Fractal to make the most positive impact that it can for Optimism Collective, and for the world as a whole. You know, these fractal communities are meant to have thousands of people coming together at each time, and there's meant to be many thousands of fractal communities that are really empowering. Like we have the mission to help all communities and organizations um, benefit from these processes and implement these throughout society. So we have a lot of opportunities for growth, and so I'm looking forward to. I'm very appreciative for everybody who's been supporting everything we're doing. Thanks so much, Harvesto, for being here and doing all the research, and very much looking forward to collaborating. And thanks everybody for watching and um, for participating and helping so much. And very excited for strategizing with you, Rosmari, as well as everyone else who's interested in getting involved in figuring out the best next steps for how we grow in 2025 and make a bigger impact on optimism and in the world.
Okay.
Thanks for the claps, Harvesto. Rosemarie, is there anything else you want to add there, or any other thoughts, or Harvesto, any other thoughts, or should we start wrapping it up?
No thoughts in particular. I have seen the respect tokens on my wallet, so pretty stoked about it and joining the governance for the upcoming topics of discussion. Yeah.
All right, sounds great. Well, I'm glad you're able to find the respect token, and congrats. I'm happy that you happen to. Really appreciate all your contributions to the community, Harvesto, and it's been such a pleasure getting to know you over the past few weeks now. And yeah, really excited. You said at some point, I think you said you're going to reach out or something about ways they can collaborate and research. And I know I'm still planning to share that article about ways to contribute to Optimism Fractal. And I think you found the article. We shared it with you about different communities implementing these fractal decision-making processes. And I shared those other links previously. But feel free to let me know if there's any other resources that you'd like, and I look forward to collaborating with you, and hope you'll enjoy your respect tokens in your wallet and do lots of cool things with them eventually.
Yeah, sure. I'll be sure to send a DM or I could just message you in the general channel.
Okay, sounds great. I look forward to it. All right, and it seems like we could probably start wrapping it up then. Oh, sound good? Okay, cool. All right, so here we go, here we go, here we go. I'm going to share the screen and wrap us up real quick, and we'll send each other off on our days. So once again, thanks everybody for participating. We talked about Optimism Season 7. Check out the Guide to Season 7 article for all the details about it. Check out the Optimism Seasons of Optimism article on the Optimistics website. I also shared this in the governance forum and the Optimism Fractal Discord, where you can learn more about the topics. I think we'll probably do similar topics next week as well. So for anybody who wants to read up on any of these topics in more detail, then you can find them all here in this article. And check out the article if you haven't yet had the chance to check it out about Optimism Fractal and Optimism Town Hall 2025 planning, the strategic evolution, where we've been discussing this, and the video from last week too. So those are some links for everybody who would like to check out more. Also stay tuned in the Optimism Fractal Discord and the snapshot space and probably the governance forum. I'm going to make that proposal for switching to the bi-weekly schedule, and curious to hear everybody's thoughts about that. And we will be having at least 1 week of winter break as well coming up on the 26th. And we'll yeah, stay tuned for more plans and proposals about that, as well as the new changes to the core intents about like changing to a 2 week schedule rather than 1 week schedule. So that is that I have to share. And then lastly, encourage everyone to join. So this is our second to last event of the season, but we will still be returning on December 19th. Yes, next week is the last event for for 2024, Rosmari. That's correct. So yeah, we'll be meeting on December 19th, and that will be the last event of the year. So I look forward to seeing you all there. I hope to see you. We'll meet for both Optimism Fractal at 17 UTC and Optimism Town Hall at 18 UTC. So until then, I wish you adieu. If that makes sense. I don't know. Do people say that? I wish you adieu. I bid you fair due. I bid you adieu. They say something like that. I don't know. But anyway, I hope you have a great day. I hope you have a great week. Thanks everybody so much for being here and watching. Go Optimism. And should we wrap it up with maybe we should wrap up with a Go Optimism on 3, 2, 1. Sound good? All right. Let's go. 3, 2, 1. 0.
Go
Go
Optimism.
Optimism! Right all. Thanks so much. See you next time.